What is going on? It is Daniel with Cuervo ATV, and today we are going to talk about radiator fan operation and troubleshooting. Lots of different information out there. We're going to talk specific on a few different issues with different generations of bikes. And we're going to talk about troubleshooting systems that are just not operational and the things that I have found in the process. So, let's see what we got, where we're going to start. All right. So your fan is not working, your fan is not turning on. You notice maybe your bike is overheating, throwing the coolant temp light, or you just realize, hey, that I haven't heard that fan in a while. I really don't think it's working, and you want to verify why. So the easiest first test to do is with your key on, your run switch on. If you go back to your fan relay in the back pouch here, your fan relay will be the one that has the smaller rubber grommet. See, that one's a little narrower. On that relay. Go back to that relay, and you see here we have our early on fan control in there. On the yellow wire with the red stripe, if we jump from there to ground, that will turn on the fan. I am going to set this camera up and I will show you real quick. Alright, that is good enough for the moment. So if we go back to that terminal, the yellow with the red stripe, and we get a jumper wire and we go to ground, that is going to run that fan. If you have no fan after that, then you need to see two different things. One is, do you hear this relay click? And if that relay clicks, then you know the relay itself is operational and it has control power to it. If the relay clicks but the fan doesn't run, then we can go and either get a voltmeter and test power to the fan, or without pulling the fan out of the bike, you'd go up to the wiring on the fan and actuate this relay and check power at the fan. If there's power at the fan and the fan is not moving, then the fan will need to be replaced. So, if there's not power at the fan, then we come back to the relay and we check the control power at the relay. So you would check this red wire with the white stripe and the red with the blue stripe. That is going to be your power in, power out of that relay. So we will check that now. And we will verify which one's power in, which one's power out, and what we need to do there. So let me get this voltmeter set up and we will see what we got. That should work there. Okay, so let's see if this will cooperate for me, maybe. Sure. So let's check where our power in. Our power in is going to be the red with the white stripe. Power out is going to be our red with the blue stripe. So from there, let's see where my jumper went. All right, so testing the power output on the red wire with the blue stripe on the center pin there. We would kind of come in here and do the same thing as we're going to actuate this relay. So at this point we would be testing the relay itself. Let's see if this will cooperate with me. We're going to jump this relay, actuate to ground, and then we have power output on that relay. Now the next troubleshooting is, well, what if we don't have power into that relay? Where do we go from there? We have no power at the fan, no power at the relay, but the relay actuates. What we would do next is look at a different portion of the harness here, is this bundle here. So this bundle here is, I'm not going to unwrap this one, but see we have two power wires going into there. That is your power from your fuse box. So we could go right back to the fuses, verify we have power there. But the next thing I want to show you is inside that bundle is this part here. There's the part number. This is the 13 and above part number, which if you have any fan issues, this is the part number that you would want to get, because this part is a circuit breaker. So basically this is a solid state circuit breaker or thermal breaker that automatically resets. Got a couple bullet terminals. So inside this pouch, unwrap that, this component is inside there. So this component, what it does is it's a resettable fuse basically. If your fan gets mud in it or gets a stick or something that's binding it up, well, instead of blowing a fuse right away, it will basically overtemp this component, and this will prevent power from going to the fan. It will cool down, retry to send power to the fan. Just a very simple component, but in actuation of what it's doing is it's going to automatically reset. So we would check power to the input terminal, you know, through one of these. This component can be installed either way, so it's non-directional, but we would check power in and then go back from there to the fuse. Or if the fuse is good and you have power in but not power out of this component, then this component would be bad. So why I bring up a model year range on this is 06 to 12 was a different component because the fan was lower amperage. So a lot of guys buy the Spall fans or upgraded fan, whatever one for the earlier models, and the bike will still overheat, or overheat actually worse. So the fan will kick on, move a bunch of air, but the bike will be sitting there and you'll hear the fan run and then shut off and then run and then shut off, and then eventually it just stops running altogether. That is because the amperage through this component is too high to run the fan. So as we do a fan upgrade, this component needs to be changed. If you buy if say you have a 06 through 12 bike and you go and buy a new radiator from Yamaha, that radiator will come, a radiator fan, and then it will have this component, this thermal breaker. So sometimes this gets lost in the packaging or thrown out on accident, or people don't know where it goes. That is what's going on with that. So fan upgrade, anything there, that is your go-to. So as far as failures I've seen, very few of the failures have ever been on the on the ECU side, meaning, and I have seen them, like the ECU actually fail where it is no longer giving the signal to the fan relay, which sometimes doing the early on fan kit, if you verify the relay is working but the ECU is not turning on it, then we can run your fan just with the early on kit and not have to go and buy a new ECU. So that does work to fix that problem. I have seen the wiring between the circuit breaker back to the fuse and main harness. I have seen that wiring break. Anything's possible, but that is your main culprit there. As far as coolant temp sensor, so in the head is your coolant temp sensor right there in the head. Now that is a sensor, it is not a switch. So going in and putting a jumper on that component, it will just throw a check engine light. That is not going to turn your fan on because it is a sensor, not a switch. On some model ATVs, it is a switch, but that is not the case on the 700. So anything else on fans? Stock radiator and fan on the 13 above is a really good setup. I'm pretty happy with it. Very few issues or failures. It does seem when you order new ones, they seem to, a lot of them come damaged. Sometimes you got to send them back and get another one. But as far as operation or issues or concerns with them, I much prefer the factory components over anything aftermarket because it's cheap enough cost-wise and it fits how it's supposed to fit without any modifications or concerns. So a lot of the aftermarket stuff, you either got to trim the frame or the fan hits other components on the bike, or just very poor quality overall. So that is what I have to share with you about fan control, operation, troubleshooting, and where to go from there. Any of the older bikes, 06 through 12, I would look at most likely the fan is bad. That's more common than anything else. From there, the thermal breaker tends to go bad. Very rarely the actual relay itself, and even more rare would be the ECU having a signaling problem to the relay. So that is what we have for today. Share this video with somebody with a fan problem. Shoot a like if you like, and we will see you on the next one.